Hello everybody. Today I am here with the story of Gulliver in the Land of Little People. This is part of a famous story about an Englishman named Gulliver. Once when he was sailing in the seas beyond India, his ship struck a hidden rock and sank in a few minutes. Only Gulliver was saved, for he was a good swimmer and managed to reach the nearest land. It had been a long swim and Gulliver was tired and weary. At once he lay down on the soft grass near the shore and slept more soundly than he had ever done in his life. When he awoke, it was daylight. He tried to rise, but he was not able to move, for his legs and arms were fastened to the ground on each side. His hair, which was long and thick, was tied down in the same way, so that he could not even turn his head. All at once, Gulliver heard a strange sound near him. Then he felt something alive moving along his left leg. Over his chest it came and up to his chin. When Gulliver looked, he saw a little man about 15 centimeters high with a bow and arrow in his hand. Behind him came 40 other tiny men like him. Gulliver was so surprised that he roared aloud and pulled his left arm free from the cords that tied it. At that, the little men ran back in terror, and from a distance they sent a shower of arrows at him. The arrows that landed on Gulliver's hands and face pricked him like needles, so after that he lay still. By this time, Gulliver felt hungry, for he had not eaten anything for many hours. He could not speak the strange language of the little folk, so he kept putting his finger to his mouth as a sign that he wanted food. How glad he was when they showed that they understood what he wanted. They placed ladders against his sides, and over 100 of the little people, carrying baskets of food, climbed up and walked over his body towards his mouth. They brought legs of mutton, each about the size of a lark's wing, and a great number of loaves of bread. Gulliver ate 2 or 3 of the legs of mutton at a mouthful, and took 3 of the tiny loaves at one bite. Next, they hoisted up 2 of their largest barrels of wine, rolled them over his chest to his chin, and opened the tops of them. Gulliver drank the wine in 2 gulps. He made a sign for more, but they could find no more to give him. "What a wonderful man-mountain is this!" they all cried in their own language. "He eats and drinks as much as 1,700 of our people." While they were shouting and cheering and running to and fro beside his body and over his chest, Gulliver fell into a very deep sleep. Now the place where Gulliver lay asleep was a little way from the chief city of that land. When the king of the little people heard about the man-mountain, he ordered his men to bring Gulliver to the city as soon as they could. Now, this was not an easy task, but these were clever people, and this is how they did it. They made a very long, low carriage with 22 wheels. 900 of the strongest men fastened the sleeping Gulliver onto this carriage, and 1,500 of the king's finest horses pulled the carriage along. While they were on the way, 2 or 3 of the soldiers who wished to see How the man mountain looked with his eyes closed, climbed up on his face. One of them stuck his spear a good way up Gulliver's nose. It tickled like a straw and made him sneeze so loudly that he awoke. The little soldiers fled in terror. The next day, the journey was finished and Gulliver was brought to the king's city. When the people saw that he did not mean to do them any harm, they untied his cords and allowed him to stand up. But they took care to chain his left foot with 90 chains so that he could not run away. The king and queen and many thousands of the citizens came out to see Gulliver. Most of them were friendly to him, but some were bold enough to shoot arrows at him. Gulliver caught 6 of these people. He put 5 of them in his pocket and pretended that he was going to eat the 6th one alive. But the prisoner screamed so loudly that Gulliver allowed him and his 5 friends to run free. For many months, Gulliver lived happily enough among the little people. They set 300 cooks to make his food and 300 tailors to sew a new suit for him. And 6 of the king's wisest men taught him the language of the land. In the end, some of the people began to grumble. We must rid ourselves of the greedy man mounting, or we will eat up all our food, or he will eat up all our food. Let us give him a little less food each day so that he will become thinner and starve to death. When Gulliver heard about this plan, he was struck with grief and he began to long for his own home. One day, a small empty boat came floating to the shore. Gulliver fitted it with a sail and filled it with food, and in it, when the wind was fair, he set sail for home. Before long, a big ship picked him up and carried him back to England. When people in England heard his strange story, they would cry, "Come, come, good sir, surely you have been dreaming." Then Gulliver would show them some tiny sheep and cattle which he had brought home with him, and they had to believe him. The story is retold from Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. Thank you for being with me. See you again soon.